Hi, everyone. This is Brad Gillis.
And Joel Hoekstra.
From Night Ranger.
You're on BackstageAxxess.com.
Where the real show begins.
Wee-ha. BackstageAxxess.com. We're here at the lovely Darien Lakes Amphitheatre between Rochester and Buffalo, and we're here with the one and only Night Ranger, and we're here with Brad and Joel of Night Ranger, the guitarists, the shredders of the band, and the tour just started. How's it going so far? And these guys are actually practicing while we're talking.
Yeah, we're warming up for the show.
Yeah, all right.
It's going real good, you know. We've been out for about 3 weeks now. We got another couple months to go, so it's definitely a long tour that we haven't done. We haven't been on a bus this long since the 80s, so right. It's kind of a little trying for us being on a bus with 9 guys. But it's going great. Show's going great. We get big crowds, man, like averaging about 18 to 20,000 a night. Can't beat that.
Yeah, selling beyond our wildest expectations, really. I mean, I didn't know coming. You know, 2 years ago we were out with Journey on a 2-band bill, and we were playing like 7,000 a night, and all of a sudden we come out on this and it's like 18,000 a night. It just blew my mind, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
The band's currently on tour with Journey and Foreigner, and it's a classic rock package put together. And like you were just saying, this is kind of more of the old style. Get on a bus and tour around the country. And how's that whole vibe going so far?
Actually, it's okay so far.
Yeah.
We try to keep each other in check. There's a lot of humor going on in the bus and the band. It kind of keeps things a nice vibe.
Yeah. Speaking of classic rock, these guys have been around 30 years. They're celebrating their 30 years together. And Brad, way back when, did you ever envision this band being along that long?
You never would think, because the average shelf life of a band is 1 to 2 records,
right?
1 to 3 years. So we ended up breaking up in '89, got back together in '96, and when the Japanese wanted the original band back together to tour Japan, and when we went back there, and all of a sudden, it started the resurgence of us getting back on the road and doing records. And it's like this year I think we're up to about 100 shows this year, which reminds me of the 80s.
Right. Just on the road, just touring. And they're on tour with their latest album, Somewhere in California. It just came out a couple months ago on Frontier Records. It's the band's 10th studio album. Correct? It's 10th studio album. First single, Growing Up in California. It's got that classic Night Ranger, a lot of shredding, a lot of solos that bands don't do nowadays, sprinkled in with some keys, obviously. Was there a certain direction that you guys wanted to take this album in, or is it kind of just, how did the album evolve?
Well,
with both of you guys.
I mean, basically, I guess, the core of the band, Brad, Jack, and Kelly got together, and, Brad had a lot of riffs coming in and kind of got the ball rolling. And they developed the songs for the most part. And then they kind of brought Eric Levy and myself in to collaborate a little at the end, which was great of them and very cool. And, as far as direction and creativity, it was, we weren't chasing anything, which was cool. And we weren't even chasing retro. We weren't trying to be retro. We weren't trying to be anything.
Right.
It was like the motto was, hey, let's do what we do best. Let's do what we do best and have fun. And so everybody kind of did what comes natural to them. Nobody, we did all talk amongst each other and share our thoughts on each other's parts and stuff like that. But it was all really really what everybody did naturally. And I think that's why we came out with a very cool reflection of where we are right now, which really, I mean, that is really the classic Night Ranger song.
Right.
Yeah.
And how do you guys, when you guys do a song, what goes into a Night Ranger song? How does it form? How's the ideas come about?
Well, basically, we wanted to stick to the core nature of Night Ranger, which made us famous and popular, is basically the big 3-part harmony choruses, sing-along choruses, and the twin guitar assault. And when you listen to the record, you'll notice that about 8 of the 11 songs are up tempo, just because we were all fired up for it. You know what I mean? And there's only one ballad on the record, and man, we just had fun doing it. And working with Joel, it was great. We fed off each other for the harmonies, and I You know, I put my ideas in with him. He put his ideas in with me, and then we'd have Kelly and Jack come in while we're recording, and we'd be doing something. They'd go, "Hey, that's cool, man. Repeat that line. That's a cool melody." You know, stuff like
Right.
that. So everybody kind of had a part in the arrangement of everything.
Okay.
And then when they were doing vocals, I'd come in and say, "Hey, why don't you guys try singing this or repeat that?" And you know, so we were all very open-minded, and I think that's what bands have to do these days. You know, when you do a record, it's just you know, let everybody collaborate, and then you get a full span of everybody's input to make a great record instead of one person just coming in and dictating their
Right.
tunes onto it with a band. So I think we were very lucky that everybody was open-minded, and it turned out the way it did.
And how do you guys divvy up guitar solos? Obviously, you guys both do leads and both do rhythms. So how do you guys decide who does what and what
Flip
goes
a
on?
coin. No, I mean, there's some songs that are just like meant for him, and some songs.
Yeah, I mean,
for
we I mean, I guess we would talk about it, and it would basically come down to like there were certain ones that was like, you know, Brad had something like, you know, an idea, and then there were certain ones like,
He had an idea.
yeah, like say it with Love, like we came up together with like that riff and that song as a band in a room together, and for whatever reason, right out of the gate, I started playing that solo, and
Yeah, Joel's got a great.
so there's a couple things like that where it was like it just popped out, and you know, that's the cool thing is now we've been together long enough. I've been around for 4 years, and you know, I didn't have to feel inhibited about like, you know, throwing an idea out. And
Right.
Brad is, you know, way cool about all that stuff, and you know, I mean, the other thing about us working together that Brad makes it really easy to sound unique in a guitar team because he has such a unique sound, you know, and you always know it's Brad Gillis immediately, so he leaves a lot of open territory for me in terms of, you know, playing whatever type of lead style I want because he has such a signature sound.
Right.
And you can still tell the difference between us, which I love. And that goes for our rhythm playing, too. I mean, Brad's got a real unique rhythm style, and so, I mean, I had a great time tracking with him, man.
And these guys actually did a video for the first single, Growing Up in California. How was that? How did that whole process go? Doing videos like the old days, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, we went up to Jack's house, and he's got like 50 acres on top of a hill in Petaluma, Santa Rosa area of California, Northern California. So we just kind of set up all of our amps outdoors in a back part of his property, which overlooked the Petaluma Valley, which is a great view. And we just put our amps out there, and just, you know, it's like 3 feet of grass, and you know, so we started there and filmed the first part there. Then we went to Bodega Bay,
Okay.
which is Northern California, where they filmed the birds.
Okay.
You know, and we went right there. We went past that church where all the birds were attacking everybody, but we went to the beach and filmed like the second half of the video, and you can see all the beautiful rocks in the background out in the ocean. We just wanted to depict California, some of the great sights, and then you know, the guy that did our video went down to L.A. and he filmed like Sunset Strip and, you know, the Rainbow Bar and Grill,
Right.
which was a staple
Yeah,
for an
of
Irish to
course.
hang out
Right.
back in the day in
Right.
the 80s, and so we just wanted to get all these great California sights and scenes in the video. But you know, the song, and Jack actually came up with that song for his solo record, which he was doing right before the Night Ranger record. And when I heard that song, I said, "Man, that's so Night Ranger, man. It's got to be on the Night Ranger." He's like, "Really?" So we ended up, you know, I put my guitars on it. Joel, you know, had his guitars on it already, had played on it, and then we put Eric's keys on it, and next thing you know, it's the lead-off track of the new record because it was so great.
And you have to check it out if you haven't checked out the video. Like you're talking about, the scenery is just breathtaking and really cool video. But switching subjects real quick, going back in Brad's history, and I don't know if the fans out there know that he had the dubious distinction of unfortunately taking over for the late great Randy Rhoads at a time where you know, Ozzy was doing the Blizzard of Oz tour, and you know, going back on something like that. You know, obviously there was a lot of pressure on replacing such an iconic guitarist at the time. Did you have any apprehensions about doing that gig, or did you just go and said, you know what, let's just crank it and do it?
Well, you got to realize it was a Cinderella story for me even getting the gig. I mean, you know, when it came down to when they were looking for a guitar player, and I thought, boy, well, that's the gig of a lifetime to get, you know. And then I got the call. I mean, I remember. How I got it was I was playing in a club band at the time when Night Ranger was shopping for a record deal, and I just wanted to play, and we weren't playing much, and I had this band called the Alameda All Stars, and we were playing around the San Francisco Bay Area,
Okay.
and we were doing a couple Ozzy tunes, and And this guy, a friend of mine, came in. This is about a week or two after Randy's unfortunate death, and he came in and saw me playing these Ozzy songs, and he said, "Hey man, I might be able to get you in with an audition with Ozzy." And I went, "Yeah, right, okay, sure." And turned out, and this guy was Preston Thrall. Preston Thrall's brother's Pat Thrall. Pat Thrall played with Pat Travers. The drummer for Pat Travers was Tommy Aldridge. Played with Ozzy.
There you go.
Preston told Pat. Pat told Tommy. Tommy told Sharon.
Right.
And sure enough, he came in and saw me on a Friday night. And sure enough, on Sunday morning, totally hungover with some woman in my bed. And, I get this call, and this lady's going, "This is Sharon Arden, Ozzy's manager, and we'd like to fly you to New York for an audition." And I'm like, "Who is this? Come on. Well, let me put Ozzy on the phone." And sure enough, I'm like, "Hello, Brad, this is Ozzy." And back in the 80s, there used to, they were in New York. Back in the 80s, there was a time delay when you talked from each coast. And I heard that delay when he was talking to me. I went, "Oh my God," all of a sudden I just turned pale white, and I'm on the phone. And he goes, "Bradley, grab a piece of paper, write down these songs." So he gave me like 19 songs to learn. And I'm like, "Here, I can hold that for you." And he's like, I said, "Ozzy, I only know a few of these songs." He goes, "Well, you might want to learn them. We're flying you out on Tuesday, and this is Sunday." So I called a couple of friends of mine. They came over with the Black Sabbath records and Ozzy records, and I learned what I could that Sunday and Monday, and then they flew me to New York, and I just toured with them for 4 or 5 days, practicing about 15 hours a day in my room, and then going to the show, and then moving on to the next gig, because Bernie Tormé was the intern guitar player before I would get in and do my first gig. And I'll never forget, it was Binghamton, New York, sold-out show, my first gig. And I didn't even get a chance to actually rehearse with the band. All I was able to do was a sound check, 7 out of the 18 or 19 songs, and I went and played that night, and it was very scary for me. But I only screwed up on one song, Revelation, Mother Earth, and the next night, Sharon goes, "Bradley, tonight, don't fuck up."
I believe if you look at the old videos they used to play on MTV, they used to show those old live Ozzy clips from '82 from that tour. That was you on guitar, correct?
Yes.
Yep, so there you go. So if you do a YouTube search, I'm sure you'll see Brad way back in his heyday. And going to Joel, switching subjects, you did the Rock of Ages, right? You did some Rock of Ages gigs?
Yeah, I'm still part of it on Broadway, actually. When I'm not out with Night Ranger, I'm back there.
Okay, so it's a Broadway, not the touring aspect, right?
Not the touring production, no.
Okay.
I'm with the Broadway one, which stays in New York City, obviously. So I do that, and I also just went down to Miami recently and shot a cameo for the movie, so I'll be a part of that as well.
Oh, okay.
I'll be at a tiny part, but it's pretty cool. It was Sebastian Bach, Nuno, Kevin Cronin, Debbie Gibson, and myself, and we're flanking Russell Brand in this scene.
Okay.
And we sing across the street to Catherine Zeta-Jones. It's pretty
okay.
fun
Isn't
stuff.
Tom Cruise in that?
Yeah, and Tom Cruise comes up at the end of the scene on a bike and kind of comes through us. So when you see the scene in the movie, it's like it's a protest scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And you did some TSO work, right, with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra?
Last year, absolutely.
The West Coast or East Coast?
East Coast.
East Coast, okay.
Yeah, so that was a great experience, great bunch of guys.
You could be doing it again, or?
Yeah, I think it's.
Okay.
We're trying to figure that out right now, logistically, if that's going to work or not this year. But, but yeah, they're a great bunch of guys, great organization, and that's a great tour too.
Right. Oh, it's a lot of work. They jam as many shows as they can in within 2.5 months. Yeah?
Absolutely, man. It's some serious stuff, but it's great. It's really good for your playing too.
Yeah. So these guys are, like I said, they're on tour with Journey and Foreigner. And before we wrap up the interview, I just want to say, ask these guys actually. What can the fans expect from you guys the rest of 2011?
Well, we put about 110% in each show we do. We're pretty excited about that, and just to play in front of so many people every night is great. And we're throwing a new song in there. We're only allotted 35 minutes,
right?
So it's kind of a drag. We got 7 songs we do. So we do a new tune. We've been playing "Lay It On Me," which is the second track of the Somewhere in California record, and we do a Yankees tune.
Okay.
And then we do the Night Ranger hits.
All right.
So it's a fun set, and we're getting a good response, and a couple more months of it, and then I'm sure we'll all be fried.
Yeah. Well, check out Joel, I guess, when he's on tour with TSO, and check out Brad when he's fried and hanging out, I guess, at his house and relaxing to the next Night Ranger project. And but you definitely want to check these guys out on the road because, like, they are amazing. I checked them out last year and definitely stole a show when I seen you guys in London, Ontario. The best band, definitely, hands down that day. And you got Journey and Foreigner, which are two classic rock staples. So come out and see these guys when they're on tour and pick up the new album somewhere in California because it's out at your local record stores, and support music. Buy it. Don't go online and cheat, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So wink, wink. But definitely check these guys out in a row when they come to your town. BackstageAxxess.com. Thanks for taking the time.
Appreciate it, Gus. Thanks.
Yet there was something driving me wild, driving me crazy. Deep inside